the best example I can give is one I kind of gave earlier is our original strategy was just to get in front of as many people as possible to say, hey, we do these things really well. Give
Yeah.
us money. Give us money so we could do this for you. And it worked a little bit, but once we kind of shifted and said, you know what, we're just going to give away everything. We're just going to give away all of our information. Like I talk to people on the phone several times a week that aren't paying the business at all, but they just have questions about certain strategies, about certain things that they're doing. And I answer those calls every single time because when eventually they do want us to do it, they're going to be naturally drawn to us. And once we kind of shifted that focus to we're just going to give everything away, we're going to give all of our knowledge away, then more and more people, that's like when we really started to see the business grow.
My name is Wisdom Okonkwo, and this is the Wisdom Journey Podcast, the show where we decode the mindset, systems, and strategies behind people doing real work and getting real results. Today, I'm joined by someone who absolutely embodies that, Michael DiMaria, marketing strategist, founder of Madman Marketing, and one of the clearest voices in cutting through the noise of modern digital marketing. Michael blends SEO, Google Ads, branding, customer experience, and AI automation into simple, sustainable systems that help businesses actually grow. He's worked across industries from legal to home services to tech, and his approach is refreshingly honest. No trends, no hype, just what works. Before running his company, he lived the overemployed life, juggling multiple remote roles, delivering under pressure, and learning what sustainable high performance really looks like, all while raising a family with a stay-at-home partner. If you're looking for clarity, strategy, and practical wisdom for your marketing or business, this conversation is going to be a game changer. Welcome to the podcast, Michael.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, before you started doing all these things I mentioned, what were you doing?
What was I doing before this?
Yeah,
Uh,
before.
yeah. So, I mean, I actually used to be more in the creative side of things.
Wow.
Um,
It
yeah, so
seems
I was,
it seems that has been a very long time, because it's as though you're pulling out the straws of memory.
yeah, it has been very, very long. I think the thing is that I liked the creative end of things because I liked the art of it.
Yeah.
Um, but and I think this happens to a lot of people is the more when you like are really into art and then you try to do it as a profession, like within graphic design and everything like that, I think you get a little jaded by it because it's not actually yours. You kind of have to do other people's art. You don't get to do your own
Yeah.
art. The one thing that always frustrated me was when I would create a design or something, to be able to communicate why this design was good, I had to look at data. And the more I started going into that off of like objective truths with why something works or doesn't work, the more I started to realize that I actually like the data side of things. And then I
Yeah.
moved more into the marketing and organic end.
Yeah. What would you say has been an unfair advantage, or probably a perspective that's been someone who in the creative industry previously has helped you now that into the marketing, the data, and all those sort of things?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that I know all of it. Like I know every aspect of kind
Yeah.
of what's going on. And
Yeah.
so
The full
w-
picture.
yeah, like it helps the strategy end of things. So instead of just saying, okay, we need, here's part of the strategy and then I need to bring someone in for this other part of the strategy, I can communicate the whole strategy now. Which that's been a great advantage over the years just for my business and the people I work with.
Wow. And what's one belief you hold about marketing that most people get wrong?
I think a lot of people think that they need a lot of money to do good marketing and they have
Wow.
to figure out some way to outspend their competitors. And at the end of the day, I don't think that's necessarily true. Now, if you're trying to create the next big soda brand, you might have a little trouble competing against brands like Pepsi and Coke. But if you're just, the neighborhood contractor or carpenter or lawyer, something like that, you can beat a lot of your competitors by growing like with sustainable organic growth. And that you know, it's free. You aren't spending money to make money. Now, you might have to pay someone to help you with this, but anybody can learn these strategies and tactics. And so I think like if you have the time to actually put the effort into learning some of these strategies, you can be a self-sustaining business without spending a dime on marketing.
Yeah. Wow. A lot of people think that marketing involves a lot of money. I'm really glad that you have that perspective because
Yeah.
right now I need some marketing strategies and I'm broke. So you're the best man for the job. Wow. Where was the moment you realized that marketing doesn't need to be this complicated as most people make it to be?
Think with some of the first jobs that I had, there's so many elements that went into the marketing strategy. And there was all the advertising spend, and you had all these big group of people dealing with the advertising, and then you had this big group of people dealing with social media, and the big group of people dealing with graphics. And I never really understood that. I found that to be very inefficient.
Yeah.
um when I eventually just made my own website and I started testing things out and saw, okay, well, if I just write this one article and it all of a sudden I'm getting traffic to this article, but I haven't like asked people to come view the article. People are just naturally coming to it. I realized, oh, uh, it's not that complicated. You don't need giant teams to do this. It's kind of a matter of trial and error. And if you have the time
Yeah.
just to put some content out there, then anybody can be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. You know, you talked about marketing doesn't need to be that complicated. You don't have to have a ton of budget to do marketing. I'm curious, was there a painful or expensive lesson that shaped the way you work today and approach marketing?
Yes, actually, that's an awesome question. So
Yeah.
when I first started out my business and I got a few contracts, made some money. I took all that money and I said, okay, I have a business now. So now I can be like, for some reason, I thought now I can be an actual business and spend money on advertising and everything like that. And I completely just got rid of the mentality that got me to that point, that got me
Oh,
my first clients. And because I just thought now I have money so I can do what everybody else does. And
yeah.
so I blew all the money on advertising and I didn't really get anything for it. And I think the thing is that the difference is that when you're advertising, it's basically like knocking on doors of places that people don't know you and you don't live, and you're
Yeah.
introducing yourself. Like they didn't ask to see you, they didn't ask to invite you over. You just have to kind of pop up in front of them and introduce yourself. And that's kind of what advertising is, where the kind of organic growth, which for some reason, I don't know why, I just completely abandoned. I'm I'm sitting at my house and people are coming to me and asking me questions now because it's like if you're sitting in the yard and you just have a sign that says, I know about this topic, ask me questions. And then people see that sign and they walk up to you. And that's kind of like what the
Yeah.
organic growth is. And so that was a very hard lesson, because instead of spending the money where it would actually benefit me, which is, hiring people to take on work so I could help build the business and everything like that, I just blew all the money on advertising.
Yeah. I mean, the thing with technology, right, is that there are safeguards in place, right? I'll give an example. Probably the first time they made the phone, they realized that, well, the phone could possibly overheat. So they're like, oh, what do we put inside to absorb the heat? The reason I bring up that analogy is since that experience, what have you done or put in place to as a safeguard to always make sure that you don't make that mistake again?
Uh, I guess it's anytime, and I think a lot of business owners would probably agree with this sentiment, is anytime you think you have a really good idea, instead of treating it like a really good idea, you treat it like a bad idea. And if you sit there and you say, okay, I'm going to do this next, I try to break it down and try to prove how it's not a good idea more than like I try to convince myself that I shouldn't do it. And if I can't convince myself that I shouldn't do it, then I do that action, or enter that new path of marketing. But if I think of an idea and I think of all the pros and cons of that, and I kind of end the conversation in my head with this is kind of a bad idea, then that helps add the safeguards. Is any idea that I have and any idea that people that I work with, we always treat them as a bad idea first, so that we can prove it wrong before we go ahead and implement.
Yeah. Well, I like that. Hmm. When you walk into a new business, what's the first thing you analyze?
First thing I analyze is, does anybody know who they are? Is
What
there
does
are
that
they
mean?
so
What does that mean? Uh, I was still talking about
yeah.
marketing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of the first step, because that takes you down the appropriate path. There's a lot of businesses, like medium-sized businesses, that they've been around for a few years. They have some reviews, people are talking about them. They have a decent client base, and they're just trying to grow. And so you assess those businesses differently than a smaller business who's just kind of starting out. Maybe they have a storefront someplace, or maybe they're just completely online, and they're saying,
Yeah.
I have this great product, but no one's buying it. And I try to sit there and go, well, when I search what your product is or what your brand is, do you even
Yeah.
come up? Do you have any visibility across the web or within your local area at all? And if they don't, then we're kind of starting from scratch.
Yeah. Okay. Knowing what they know, I like that, and also taking account of the resources they have that they're not even aware of. Right.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if I meet you on the side of the road and I say, "Hey, there's this really cool thing over here. Come with me." Well, why would you trust me? You just met me. Like, I'm not going to go with you. You're a complete stranger. I have zero
Strange,
trust in you.
stranger danger.
Yeah, and that's kind of what a lot of new businesses are doing. Is they're saying, like the contracting industry, if you're building homes or something like that, you're basically reaching out to people and saying, "Hey, I'm a trustworthy person. Go ahead and give me thousands of dollars to build your home." And like they have zero reason to trust you. You have zero authority to just ask people for money. And so you have to showcase that you know what you're talking about first. You have to provide some sort of value to
Yeah.
people first. That's a big thing that we do internally for our business growth strategy. Is we aren't spending a bunch of money on advertising, or I mean, we honestly aren't even writing a bunch of content all the time anymore. We are reaching out to people and other businesses, and we're actually giving them a strategy. We're analyzing their business, we're giving them a strategy, and we're
Yeah.
saying, here you go, this is what we know, and if you want our help, then let's have a conversation. Otherwise, hopefully this is valuable to you. And that kind of showcases our authority, but also at the same time, like, it's something that's actually actionable on their end. And when they see any sort of movement or growth in their business, then they're going to think of us first if they actually want to hire out for that help.
Yeah. Well, uh, what is the most business owners don't even know that their marketing is broken. What's the simplest way a business owner can diagnose if their marketing is broken?
Yeah, I think the first thing that I always recommend is assessing, if you are doing marketing and spending money in any capacity, assessing how much money you're spending on it now versus 6 months ago. If when you weren't doing marketing, what did your business look like then? Has it grown at all? I mean, has it grown at all? But also, have you, the amount of money that you spent over the last year or so, have you made any of that money back? And if you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing and the outcomes of your business are not improving, then that's kind of the simple test right there that you need to make a change.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that does make sense. Because most times people will tell you that, well, marketing is not exactly sales. They'll say, well, it's for the long term. I need to give it time for me to start
Yeah.
seeing the results. What would you say to that?
It might take a while to see results. I think depending on the business, it might take a while to see results. And that's just an unfortunate fact of the business. But at the end of the day, if you don't start now, like if I start today on my marketing strategy, a
Yeah,
year from now, I'm going to be much better off than if I didn't start at all. And you have to be patient with marketing. And I think that there's no silver bullet on what the best strategy is or what's going to get you the most business quickly. And I think people just have to have some patience. And it's just, yeah, I try not to sugarcoat that aspect of things, because when you're building a business, it's not a fun journey. I mean, I wouldn't call it fun necessarily. It can be a painful journey, and you have to
yeah,
have patience and you have to stick with it.
yeah. That does make sense. I'm curious. Let's say not the traditional business. Let's say a local media brand, a
Mhm.
local, it's not a traditional newspaper, but a local media brand, maybe a local newsletter, a local podcast. How would one go about marketing that kind of podcast or brand? Because it's not just a podcast,
Yeah.
considering they're broke. Like, let's say they have $50 to their name. uh, they have time and
Yeah.
they have energy.
Yeah. I think the thing is that, like, when you're working on a media brand like that, like a podcast,
Yeah,
well, first of all, I mean, base level, how much content do you have? Like, if I post something and I get people to look at that post and I don't have anything else for them to look at, then you're going to lose those people. So I always like the strategy of, when you're first starting out, to like record a bunch of episodes and then release them all at once, and then
yeah,
start releasing simultaneously, so that people have a bunch of content that they can intake um, when they see you. But I think ultimately, at the end of the day, is, are you saying something? Are you doing something is that no one else is doing? Like, is there any sort of, like, why should people be paying attention to you? And if you're assessing what you're doing and you can't answer that question, you kind of have to start from scratch. Like, if you can't even answer why people should do business with you, or why people should be watching or listening to your content, then the person that you want to listen to your content isn't going to get that message either. And so there has to
yeah,
be there has to be purpose to every single thing that you do.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that does make sense. So it could be, yeah, it makes sense. So oftentimes, what we just do is we market, we promote, and we're like, look at me. And then people start looking at us, and that's it. There's nothing
Yeah,
else.
yeah, it's painful. It's really painful, but I think that's the process. Like, at the end of the day, like, there and I guess it depends on what the end goal is, but you have to you have to be doing it not for the success of it necessarily. You have to be doing it for the value that you're adding to people's lives, whether that's in your business or in the content that you're creating. Because if you aren't able to get any sort of satisfaction that people are finding your content valuable,
Yeah,
but they aren't necessarily paying you money for that, then when they eventually do start paying you money for that, I just don't know if you're gonna be as satisfied even at that point either, because there's that next goal or benchmark that you haven't achieved yet, and you're gonna be thinking, oh, I'm not there, but not realizing that you're just constantly growing. And I think the more you don't pay attention to those types of metrics, the happier you are.
hey, quick break. Before we continue, I'd love for you to join the Wisdom Journey newsletter. Every week, I share exclusive insights, tools, and behind the scenes updates to help you stay ahead in your own journey of building an online business. It's simple, practical, and built to help you grow. Sign up today for free at the link in the description. Now let's get back to the episode. Yeah. Wow. And I guess the question I should be asking now is, um, just to follow up on the previous question, such a scenario for a local media brand, what is it that they're promoting? I mean, if I had if I was selling what products, it makes sense that this is what I'm promoting. But for a local media brand, this stuff is media's. What will be the thing beyond just the content for the people to, you know, buy into?
Yeah, I think they have to buy into you and they have to buy into your message. So like for example, this podcast, your core values of this podcast are to add value to other people. And hey, I'm going to bring in this type of this all sorts of content that is going to add value to your life. And
Yeah.
it's very selfless. And there's not a easy answer for this because I think it all goes back to is if your main goal and your intention for making the content is a selfless one and it's one to add value to other people regardless of the outcomes for yourself, people will naturally be drawn to you. And that's, I mean, I have the best example I can give is one I kind of gave earlier is our original strategy was just to get in front of as many people as possible to say, hey, we do these things really well.
Yeah.
Give us money so we could do this for you. And it worked a little bit, but once we kind of shifted and said, you know what, we're just going to give away everything. We're just going to give away all of our information. Like I talk to people on the phone several times a week that aren't paying the business at all, but they just have questions about certain strategies, about certain things that they're doing. And I answer those calls every single time because when eventually they do want us to do it, they're going to be naturally drawn to us. And once we kind of shifted that focus to we're just going to give everything away, we're going to give all of our knowledge away, then more and more people, that's like when we really started to see the business grow.
Yeah, it does make sense. Build trust. So people are like, oh yeah, if they can give this for free, I can only imagine what will happen if I start paying them money to help me.
Right. Right. And I think that's the same with a media brand as well. Is your sole purpose has to be the value, has to be a selfless one because people are it's funny even if you think that you aren't being this way necessarily, people can tell if your intentions are selfless or selfish,
Yeah,
and it comes across in the content that you create, whether you're intending it to be that way or not. And so you just always have to have that in mind. And everybody that does it that way, I've seen success with.
yeah, yeah. That does make sense. Um, I want to talk on SEO and Google Ads.
Sure.
Um, most businesses they treat SEO and Google Ads as competing tools.
Mhm.
Why do you think they do that?
I think they do that more. I think some businesses, it's a lack of understanding of the differences between them because they're very similar. Is I can pay money to show up at the top of the page, or I can work hard to show up at the top of the page. And so they're very similar types of products. I think at the end of the day though is people don't like advertisements. And so you'll notice very quickly one outshining the other even if you're doing both very, very well. You're going to see more value from the organic route than you will the paid route.
Yeah, yeah. When should someone prioritize SEO?
Immediately.
Ah,
Immediately. Because at the end of the day, like it's how people find you. The first place that people go when they have questions or they're looking for answers is they go to an AI chatbot like ChatGPT
yeah,
or something like that, or they go to Google right away. They go to a search engine and they type in their question and they're hoping to find that information. So if your information is there when they have a question, then they're gonna trust you. They're gonna trust you over anybody.
yeah,
That's how a lot of brands gain a lot of recognition online. That you might have just discovered, and all of a sudden you start seeing them more and more and more, and you start recognizing them more places, even if they've always been in front of your face. The
Yeah.
fact that you've actually interacted with their brand without them reaching out to you, you found them, they didn't find you. um, you're gonna recognize that brand every day when you're online.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of persons are actively searching for a solution to their problem. We as marketers, we're out there trying to convince someone else to solve their problem. When there's someone who's saying, I'm tired of this, there's someone who can literally help me, they're searching this, and we're not there. We're trying like claim territories that I just feel like SEO, it's, if you do it well, you have to do less sales. The people are already
Mhm.
convinced, and so they just need to verify that you're a trustworthy source, and they'll do business with you.
Yeah, it's funny because SEO is optimizing for the search engines, for your content and your website to
Yeah.
show up. But it's so much more than that. It's about building it. It's about building authority. It's getting into the habit of creating content, writing content, and then getting out in front of the users. Like I see a lot of people that have a lot of success with SEO that aren't even gaining a lot of business directly through organic search. They're actually gaining business from advertising, but at the very top of the funnel, when people have those questions, their content is showing up. And that content isn't there to get someone to convert and into business. That content is there strictly to educate and build
Yeah.
authority. So
Yeah.
that when you run that ad or when you reach out through a phone call or email, that person remembers you.
Yeah. There's something that's very popular now, and that's AI. I'm curious. How do you use AI in your marketing?
Yeah, so I use AI a lot for research into like industry research. I use one of the primary tools I use is Perplexity, and it's very, very good at industry research. It's really good at pulling sources, and so it helps me provide more value for other people when I know that information.
Yeah.
I think the thing at the end of the day too is it's very helpful in expanding your business and what you have the ability to offer. I mean, 10 years ago, there's certain things that I offer now that I would never be able to offer 10
Yeah.
years ago because the ability to learn how to do something that you don't necessarily know how to do was it was much harder to do that 10 years ago than it is now. If I have a client that is having an issue with their website that I'm not familiar with, AI helps me get through that.
Yeah.
It's like talking to an expert, and it doesn't always give you the right answer right away. Sometimes you have to work with it, but nowadays there's not really anything you can't do anymore, because you there's always a quick, an easier way, I guess, not necessarily quick, but there's always an easier way to find the answer.
Yeah. You use Perplexity for I'm curious. So I usually think that Perplexity is just super hyped, right? I mean, I get the ChatGPT, I get Claude, but Perplexity, I'm like, I don't
So I
really
used
know.
to think that too. I was right there with you. I used to think Perplexity was very hyped, and then I decided to pay for the premium, the
Okay.
pro plan for it, where now it has like the research feature on it, and it's very, very impressive. There's certain businesses that when I ask ChatGPT or Claude, hey,
Yeah.
what is this business or what do they do? And let's say I know the business well, so I'm
Yeah.
mostly just testing it.
Yeah.
It they usually get it wrong because
Mm.
they're just reading the content on the web page, and if your web
Yeah.
page isn't optimized super well,
Yeah.
then that AI isn't going to give you necessarily good answers. But then when I tested it within Perplexity without changing any of the content, the the accuracy of how I was able to describe certain businesses and what they do, I was very impressed by.
More. I like that. I should probably try Perplexity out and see.
Yeah.
So many AI tools, left, right. You think you've
Mhm.
got your two sets set up, and then tomorrow there's another one that pops up, and like, it's all
Yeah,
right.
there's way too many out there.
Yeah. What parts of marketing should be automated, or what parts of marketing do you automate, and which part of marketing do you think you would never should never be automated?
Um, so I automate a lot of like back end stuff that doesn't matter so much, but is a lot of busy work. Like I try to automate a lot of busy work as much as possible.
Yeah,
So when a lead comes in, what messages do they get?
yeah,
Where do they get categorized within your system? Like all of that I automate, that typically in the past we've had to manually do ourselves. But none of that stuff is, it just takes a lot of time and it never feels like it's moving the needle. And so I feel like it's really easy to automate that type of stuff. But when it comes to actually like reaching out to people and building relationships, that's the one thing you can't ever automate. Building relationships and that one-on-one interaction is something that is going to be much more valuable as AI starts to take over more and more things, because people want human interactions. There was a
yeah,
minute I tested out having like an AI assistant actually talk to people, and as good as it was, it still just didn't hit the mark. And I could tell people were starting to get turned off with even interacting with the brand. And so we abandoned that pretty quickly. And right then and there, we were just like, this is one thing we will never automate in our business, is relationship building.
yeah. Well, okay. So we're now automating relation because with marketing, there's so many moving parts, so many moving parts. Like there's
Yeah.
this, there's that, and sometimes it's overwhelming. So I'm curious, how do you? I guess the real question is, how do you organize everything? Because now that there's so many tools out there, how do you superpower yourself compared to just one guy trying to juggle everything? Does that make sense?
That's tough. I mean, like I said, like you can automate a lot of things on the back end that help takes a lot off your plate. I I think when you're just starting out, it's still very valuable to have people working with you as much as possible. And not obviously not everybody can afford to hire somebody, but building partnerships with other businesses to refer business back to each other, I think is super important. Doing content collaborations with people is super important.
Yeah,
And then using AI to fill the gaps of everything in between so that we can focus on relationship building and value adds. But like there's some strategies where if we were to go into a business and look at every single web page and look at every place that they're ranking and all their social media, that would take us forever.
yeah,
So we're using AI to do a lot of that research and a lot of that heavy lifting for us. So instead of maybe doing a in-depth audit of one business every few days, we can now do in-depth audits of 10 businesses a day or more if needed. And so it really helps with the overall workflow of getting information quickly so that you can make
decisions.
general assumptions and decisions off of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious. Other than Perplexity, I think Perplexity, even though I don't use it, is common. It's popular. A lot of persons know Perplexity, right? What's an AI tool or workflow you wish more people knew that you're like this stuff is genius.
Oh man. Okay, so there's a decent amount of SEO tools out there that will help with content writing and optimizing that content for ranking.
Yeah,
So two that come to mind are very similar, and one is called ClearScope, and the other one's called Surfer SEO.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
what these tools do is it helps you. identify content that's going to benefit your business, but it will also outline and write the content for you if you want. And the way it optimizes that content so it ranks well is that those two tools have you, they compare what you're trying to write with the top 20 to 30 search results online. So it's analyzing every single one of those pages and analyzing why is this page ranking well and how do I take what they're doing here and apply it to this piece of content. And before that was a super manual process. We had to
Yeah.
go in and look at every single page and how many of this type of keyword do they have on every single one of these pages? What is the content length of every single one of these pages? And we're opening up every single URL and analyzing the content by hand, actual human. How AI can do that, it to write a well optimized blog article, what used to take sometimes a day or a few days to do can now be in an hour or so.
Wow. Wow. Clear scope, so far SEO. I should check that. Uh, are there other tools beyond just SEO marketing, right? Other
Mhm.
in other areas that you'd love to recommend? I'm all for the recommendations.
Yeah, of course. So I'm trying to think. I use tools like Maker and um which
Was
that's a tool that's able to or make I'm sorry I
Yeah, I was like,
misspoke,
how?
yeah, make where basically it's able to connect a lot of your other tools so they speak together. So it's able to connect your CRM or your email to your calendar booking link, to your actual calendar, to your phone.
Yeah,
They can send you text messages when something comes in that needs your attention. So it's able to connect all these things so that when someone makes an action over here, every single other tool that you have recognizes that action and starts to bring them through the funnel
yeah.
where before you had to do that manually.
Well, I like that. Make well automation. Okay.
Mm, yeah.
Um, what new opportunities are people overlooking in marketing in general beyond just the tools?
New opportunities. I think the biggest
Bless you.
opportunity that I see in marketing right now is it is AI focused. It's not necessarily a tool, but it's the ability to analyze data at a faster rate than we've ever been able to do before. So it's always been a fact in marketing that speed is one of the most important aspects of your marketing plan.
Yeah,
Being able to create a plan and implement quickly is
yeah,
super important. But you can't just have an idea and then implement without the research in between. And so the ability to quickly make decisions and implement and test is an advantage that a lot of businesses aren't utilizing. A lot of businesses are still stuck in this old mentality of, okay, well, if this is our strategy, we better get it right because it's going to
yeah,
take a while to implement the strategy. And a lot of times, even just a few years ago, when you implemented a strategy, that's the one you were sticking with for a while until you would implement a new one. And then
yeah,
you're stuck with that one for a while so you can compare results. Now you can implement and optimize strategies very, very quickly so you can get good or bad results very quickly. And then you can pivot to a different strategy if needed very quickly. And so, what used to take a year to get data back on, you can now get within just, a few weeks.
yeah, yeah. That does make sense. It it does make sense. Okay. What final piece of advice would you give to listeners, businesses, and business owners on marketing?
Um, I think the biggest thing that I try to get across to people is there's never a wrong answer. There's never like a wrong strategy, especially if you haven't experienced it before or you haven't done it before. Everything that you do, good or bad, positive or negative is a data point.
Yeah.
And you can't make like if you implement strategy after strategy and you only get positive results, you're going to hit a moment that you might not ever recover from, because as soon as you make a bad decision, then you won't know how to come back from that, because you haven't had anything negative happen to you in the first place. And
Yeah.
so that's why I think the speed of implementing ideas and strategies is super important, because you gotta be wrong. And the cost of being wrong on implementation is so much less than it used to be.
Yeah.
And so test as many things as possible and gather as much data as possible, so that when that big moment does happen of growth that is coming your way, you have all the information in the world to know the right and wrong answers for.
Thank you so much for that advice, Mike.
Of
Where
course.
can listeners connect with you and also work with you?
Yeah. So you can go to my website, which is madmanmarketing.io. You can also find me on YouTube. It's Michael Anthony DiMaria is the brand name, is the handle on YouTube, and then also my Instagram page, which is Michael is not available. It's kind of ironic. I am available, but I thought it was a funny name. So
That's such a creative name. At first, when I saw the name, I was like, "Are you sure this link is not an error that's showing me that it's not working?" I was like, "Oh, I see what you did there."
yeah, of
Thank you so much, Mike. I'll put the links in the
course.
description so listeners can just click and go there to the site. It's been quite enlightening chatting with you, and thank you for reminding
Yeah, I
me that
appreciate it.
broke men can do marketing. I guess I should start a brand called Broke Man Marketing.
That's actually
Not
a
I.
fantastic idea.
Uh,
I love that idea.
well,
If you want to flesh that out together, let's do it. I love that idea.
well, I'll
I
add,
think that's catchy.
I'll add it to my list of wisdom things to do.
Yes.
Wow, thank you so
And then
much.
the last thing I just wanted to say is we give away strategies for free, and
Wow,
there's no strings attached.
wow,
If you or any of your listeners just are kind of stuck in a certain part of your business and you want that free assessment, I mean, these assessments aren't just surface level. They're pretty in depth. So if it's something that anybody's interested in, just reach out to us either through social media or on the website, and then we'll make these for free. So
wow,
please,
wow,
yes,
wow. See, we talked about
yeah.
broke, and here you are talking about free. You're speaking my language, man.
Yes, yes. Everything is free to a certain point.
No, I don't like that part to a certain point. I didn't hear that part. It's just everything is free.
Yeah,
And then in the fine print you then put to a certain point. Isn't that
yes, to a
what
certain point.
Yeah, well, it's been great talking to you, Michael. Thanks for tuning into Wisdom Journey. I hope today's episode gave you practical steps and fresh ideas to keep moving forward. If you found value, be sure to subscribe and share this podcast with a fellow creator or entrepreneur who'd love to learn too. And don't forget to sign up for the newsletter and the link in the description for more resources, experiments, and lessons straight to your inbox. Until next time, keep building, keep learning, and keep walking your own wisdom journey. Yeah.